Welcome, Towson fans, to another edition and first edition of the 2017 Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Morekas. The Tigers getting set to take on Morgan. We come back and talk to Coach Rob Ambrose about that matchup.
For an athlete, there's nothing scarier than a torn ACL.
Athletes trust us with their care and their careers because we're a recognized leader in sports medicine.
Get back to your active life sooner with MedStar Sports Medicine.
Wise Market's ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and it's locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl and chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packets of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Welcome, Tiger fans, to another edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Morekas, joined as I will be every week by head coach Rob Ambrose. And coach, the Tigers getting set to take on Morgan to open up the 2017 season. Guys haven't played each other in a couple of years. I know you're happy to have them back on the schedule.
I am. There's a philosophical reason behind it that I really don't believe that there should be 2 Division I football teams that play in the same city that don't play each other on the regular. I just don't. Just like I don't think we should not play Maryland. We should play them too. But to have the game back, you know, I've been a part of this for a long time, the evolution of this game as a player, as a young coach, as a coordinator, and now as a head coach. And evolution is a good word. It's evolved. The game's evolved. The universities have evolved. The communities have evolved. And I think there's no better time for us to start this thing up and commit to it for a long term.
Speaking of evolving, your football team evolving from last year. I know a disappointing year, 4-7, but you won your last 3 football games. You look at your team, 4-7 with a couple of very close losses. You look at Morgan last year, 3-8. They also had a couple of very close losses. Teams with similar situations from last year coming into this season.
I would agree. A lot for both teams to prove. A lot to have learned from in the past, and both teams are pretty excited about the possibilities of their futures.
Your team, when you hit spring ball, I know you had some young players coming in. You had a lot of veterans coming in. Now, summer camp is over. You are officially in Morgan State mode as of now. How do you see how this camp developed from what you saw in the spring and what you saw throughout the summer?
It's fun. I guess I'm going to stick with the word evolution. But, you know, we talked about this the other day. It's been 8 months, and we've been building to this pretty much since the last team meeting at the end of the season. And that, you know, we said goodbye to a bunch of guys who had great careers and have represented the university well while they've been here. But the guys left in the room were excited to make a difference. And they really went about that work, and they didn't wait until camp. This started in January, and it's been a long process. Camp's been long. We reported in July. Never done that in my life. And my first living memory is football. I'd never been in a camp this long. Even the NFL guys are going, man, that's pretty long.
Well, that's because they took away 2-a-days, correct?
The NCAA changed the rules and did away with 2-a-days, and in an attempt to treat the student athletes better, I guess. But from a former student athlete, I'd rather have 3 weeks worth of 2-a-days than to go this long. take away their summer, and what they didn't think about was that we had to practice during summer school, during the last week of summer school, which is finals, which is very challenging. Thought the kids handled it great, thought the coaches handled it great, but it's been a long month. We need to play somebody else.
All right, speaking of coaches handling it great, you have a new defensive coordinator for the first time in your tenure. Lyndon Johnson moves from the offensive side of the ball over to defensive coordinator, but he's somebody that you know very well.
I do. Schematically, there's only so many ways you can move 11 chess pieces, so the concepts are not entirely different. The verbiage rings a little in my ear as almost 10 years up there. We played pretty good defense, and I heard all this stuff before. But yeah, it's been a good change. I think for us, it's changed the attitude of the kids a little bit, a different voice, a little bit of different mentality, and they've really rallied around it. They've been excited. Every time a little change is needed every now and then. So I like where we were in the spring. I like more how we've grown into that schematic process in the summer, and I'm really looking forward to how we keep moving forward. The kids are excited. I'm excited.
It's interesting. You look at your football team, and at every group of positions, you have veterans and you have newcomers that are all going to be playing. Obviously, quarterback Morgan Mihalik is the veteran, but you've got to back up Ryan Stover, who hasn't played at all. Your offensive line, you got a couple guys coming back, a couple guys moving in. It's that way at every position on both sides of the ball. That's got to make you happy that you've got the veterans, but excited that you've got some new blood coming in.
Well, it's challenging. We joke around and say that, helping these kids grow and mature into young men using the game of football as a tool, that by the time we get them to graduation, they're ready. They're about as good as it's awesome. And then they go away. And then we start all over again with somebody else. And that's how it is. It's a never-ending cycle. That's what we love. We don't do it for the win. I mean, the wins are awesome, and that's great and everything, but we do it for the interaction with the kids and the growth of the kids. And so, yes, it's fun. For us as coaches, that's fun. But to see a guy like Antonio Harris, who's been through it all, I mean, truly been through it all, and to watch him take these young guys under his wing and go, no, that's wrong. No, this is right. And him understanding that his legacy as a future ex-player, when he comes to the game on Saturday and he watches this field, watch those guys play, how they act, what they do or do not do will be in direct correlation to the work ethic and mentality that he left behind. And I can say that at so many other different positions where guys are in the rear end of their careers. Clifton Jones had a great line. Clifton Jones had a very rough, interesting beginning to his career, both on the field and off. And one of the best things, the most honest things I've heard is he goes, I told one of those kids, he's really good, he's really smart. I said, don't you dare be me. Don't you dare do what I did. This is what I did. Don't make this mistake. And these guys are growing faster because of it. I love all the kids, and I like my teams in general. But this group of guys, old and young, has meshed in a way that I have not seen in a long time. And it's fun.
Well, the fun starts on Saturday, and it's against the Morgan State Bears. Coach Farrier in his second year with the Bears, but he's got a new offensive coordinator. Used to be the offensive coordinator at Clemson, so obviously this guy's had it at the highest level. Can you look at last year's game tapes and just throw them out because they have a new offensive coordinator?
Some, yes and no. Schematically, you don't hold as much stuff with it, but personnel-wise, you're digging. What can he do well? What can he not do well? And I've known Rob Spence since I was probably 22 years old. I used to go to his clinics before I did clinics, so he's probably forgotten more football than I've learned. But I can tell you he will have them ready to play. They will play fast, they will play smart, and they'll be exciting.
Game time is 6 o'clock on Saturday night at the U. We hope you come out. If you can't, Gordy Combs and I will have the call for you starting at 5:45 on CBS Sports Radio 1300 and TowsonTigers.com. Before we go, the Tiger family lost a member this week, someone that I know you know, Rob, and someone who was a classmate of mine in the early 80s. Brian O'Neill was just a tough running back, and we wish Brian O'Neill's family all of our sympathy and best wishes, as Brian had a long struggle with MS and passed away this past weekend. So don't want to leave it on a down note, but for head coach Rob Ambrose, I'm Spiro Morekas. We'll see you at the U on Saturday, and we'll see you back here on TowsonTigers.com next week as we talk about not only Morgan, but the Maryland Terrapins.